Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining me on this first episode of the Tears of Fire podcast, where we will be going through The Last Dragon Chronicles by Chris DeLacy. The first book in the series is The Fire Within, and they're pretty easy read. They're aimed for middle school to early high school age children. It's an early fantasy series. You got some of the same elements as Game of Thrones, Aragon, Lord of the Rings, on a much lesser scale, easier to digest for a younger audience. So if you're looking for something to help the young children in your life get into reading, this might be a great one. This helped me get into it, and I've been a bookworm ever since. So, this is awesome. I appreciate it. Thanks for joining, and hopefully, you guys have fun along the way. And let's just get into it. In chapter 1, we're going to start with Welcome to Wayward Crescent. They didn't get a prologue or anything, but at the beginning of the book, we get letters between Liz and David. Liz being the woman who is putting up the room for rent, and David, the tenant that's looking for one. In the letter, it shows that Liz is looking for somebody to pay roughly $60 a week. Must be clean, must like children, must like cats and dragons. Dot dot dot. In the response letter, David says that he's as clean as anybody at 20 years old can be, which, let's be real, that's not very clean. He's respectful, saying that he loves kids and cats, and though he hasn't seen dragons recently, he likes dragons too. So that's the prologue slash letters that start out. Then we go into the actual story. David is a well-mannered kid going through, asking questions about the house. About halfway through, a very talkative kid comes in and starts interrupting the mother pretty frequently, and we get her name is Lucy. Lucy is a little red-headed girl with green eyes, so stands out very, very clear. Then, as we go through the house, we open up the door that would be David's room, and Lucy explains that this was once their dining room, but they don't eat in there. It's usually in the living room or in the kitchen. And so they put doors on, put a bed in, and a study desk, and trying to just add a little bit more life into the house. As he's walking in through this room, he sees on the fireplace that there's a dragon on top. This dragon is roughly, 5 to 7 inches. He notices that it's not fierce and deadly. It's also not cartoony, campy, and little cutesy. It's this dragon that's got a fiery pride in its eyes, and it's got this look of its known importance for itself, and that it's got a role to play in this household slash world. David thinks it's interesting, goes to pick it up, and notices that it's warm to the touch. He almost drops it and puts it back down. And before he can ask and get the answer, Lucy starts explaining that, oh, well, it's warm because, and gets cut off by Liz. Liz says because it's been sitting in the sun too long, as she sits it back into just the one sliver of sunshine on that fireplace. Lucy explains that Liz makes these dragons along with other pots and crafts up in the upstairs dragon's den where she has her kiln and clay making studio. Lucy goes on to tease David a little bit, saying that he's not allowed in there, while Liz just laughs, shrugs, and says once he gets settled in, if he decides to stay, she'd be more than happy to show him. And that's the end of chapter 1. Now we're going to be getting into chapter 2, settling in. So, as David is coming towards the room that they were originally showing him, he agrees that this is one of the best places he's looked at. It's close to where he wants to be. He asks if there's any kind of transportation into the college that he'll be staying at, and Lucy pipes in and starts interrupting again, saying, oh, there's tons. I've always hearing them. Liz agrees and says that there's usually at least 3 an hour. So, that's plenty. At least here where we're at, there's not that many buses going back and forth. That's awesome. So David starts to get hungry. Liz notices and says that she'll start making dinner. It'll be ready in an hour, and that she's making shepherd's pie. And shepherd's pie is killer, man. We make that all the time. We kind of cheat at it. Instead of putting mashed potatoes on the top, we usually do tater tots. And you know what? It's lazy, but it's good. It's awesome. You should try it sometimes. David needed to be pointed in the direction of the restroom, which was upstairs and to the left. When David got in there, he noticed that there was another dragon up sitting next to the sink, overlooking the rest of the bathroom, and he noticed that this one was a little bit smaller. Wasn't quite as big as the dragon in his room, but it was kind of rose scented, and this dragon had that same self confident look in its eye, and this one felt just a little bit more alive. When David went to touch it, he swore that he could feel a little heartbeat. David could tell that Lucy's wanting to talk about something, so he says, "What's up?" And Lucy starts going on and on about squirrels. And they had mentioned one person or one character earlier named Conquer that Lucy kind of mentioned once in passing, but David wasn't sure what was going on, so he didn't press the matter. So David then asks if Conquer is a squirrel, and Lucy just gets brightened up. She gets excited as she realizes that David will actually entertain her craziness. Liz gets a little annoyed and just says, "We can talk about it later." Liz starts getting Lucy up and ready for bed and tells her to go start getting the dragons ready. David doesn't ask any questions and doesn't push the subject. Once Lucy is in bed and Liz comes back now, they talk some more. David apologizes for bringing up the subject in case it was something that she doesn't enjoy talking about, and she exclaims that it's okay. She was just supposed to wait at least one day before Lucy started talking his ear off about squirrels. She explains how she's really into saving wildlife and just wants to do better. All right, now it's the end of chapter 2. We're going to get into chapter 3, meeting Mr. Bacon. This is a very, very short chapter. It's only, 2.5 pages long. You don't get the best first impression of Mr. Bacon. When in the morning, you can see that there's this van out front that's helping David move. It's one of his buddy's dads, and on the front of the van, the company says pest control. David didn't think anything of it, and neither did Liz, but I guess Mr. Bacon didn't like the look of that. So, as he's seen people walk back and forth with boxes, he just sees the van and walks up to Miss Liz Pennykettle, who is standing guard to make sure that nobody steals these boxes. Says that he walks up, and though Mrs. Liz was on guard, he caught her quite off guard. I thought that was a good little line. But then he goes on to say, "What pests do you guys got?" And he starts looking around, he sees the old cat, Mr. Bonington. He says, "Seeing that mangy thing, it's probably fleas." Starts explaining how fleas are going to affect her, you're going to make her itchy, get red blotches all over, and that she'd just be better off if she got rid of that cat. Liz gets a little upset, introduces Mr. Bacon to David by saying, "This is our lovely neighbor." And David kind of saves the day as he can see that there's a little bit of ill will in between the two. He's talking about, "Oh, well, I saw a rat the other day. I don't know if it's Mr. Bonington with fleas. I saw this rat in this garden next door." And before David could ask which side that Mr. Bacon lived on, Mr. Bacon just took off, got in a huffy puff, needed to go make sure that there was no rats in his yard or near him. And after that, there were no words between the two. David asked Liz if everything was all right, and she just laughs and shrugs and said that he's always been this way. All right, and that's the end of chapter 3, Mr. Meeting Mr. Bacon. Now, chapter 4, David unpacks. David is unpacking in his room about midday when Lucy shoots in right after school. Lucy just starts talking his ear off again, and you can see that David is good with kids while he's asking some questions here and there, just trying to be involved while he's obviously distracted by taking out his old space rocket ship that he made in science class when he was a kid, old stacks of books that were out splayed throughout the table, the chair, the bed, and, just random stuff. Lucy's going on about being an acrobat and squirrels, and so She gets excited because she remembered that David said that he had seen a rat, but once David had told Liz that it wasn't really a rat that he saw, it was a squirrel running back and forth because he'd never seen a rat with a big, fluffy tail. This makes Lucy believe that she's seen Conker and that David's willing to help her. She keeps on complaining and telling David, "You need to help me, you need to help me, please, 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 we gotta save Conker." And though David thinks that she's being silly and overreacting a bit, he agrees to help her when he can. He goes on to say that it might just be natural selection and that they can try to find or relocate Conker, but they need to know where the other squirrels went. Lucy goes on to explain that she saw 5 squirrels living in the tree in Mr. Bacon's yard before they had to remove it. And they explain that there was a big oak tree that was getting ruined, or that was ruining the roads, and that's why. But once the tree was gone, the squirrels were gone. And there was quite a few. There was Ringtail, Conker, Cherry Lee. Let me see, there's Birchwood as well. And I believe there's one more that we didn't get a name for because Lucy got interrupted. So that's going to be interesting. There must be something going on there they wanted to introduce but not name. But yeah, so I'm pretty excited. It seems like David's starting out in a good place. It'll be interesting to see how this dynamic changes once he starts going to college. If he's going to meet any friends over there, or if it's going to be solely just Liz, Lucy, and David for a bit. I'm wanting to see where these dragons fit in because it seems like these dragons have some sort of purpose or some magic going on that we're not quite sure about. They seem alive but not interacting. So thanks for joining me. This will be chapters 1 through 4. Next week we'll try to do the same, maybe a little bit more if we can. But if you guys have any questions, please feel free to message me, comments, suggestions, anything whatsoever. I'll put it in the description. You can find me at Gadzooksthelastdm at gmail.com. And I'm looking forward with going through this journey with you.